Fame arrived before identity had a chance to fully grow. Alia Bhatt entered the film industry at an age when most people are still learning who they are without public judgment. The spotlight found her quickly and never truly stepped back. Expectations formed around her name before her confidence could settle into stability. Early success created speed without emotional grounding. Applause surrounded her before inner strength could fully develop. The industry shaped her growth in public instead of private. Mistakes were not quiet lessons, they became visible evaluations. Every performance carried the burden of proof instead of freedom of exploration. Childhood faded beneath rehearsals, interviews, and audience reactions. Stardom accelerated her life before she was allowed to absorb it. Reflection was often delayed by momentum. Comparison arrived faster than personal confidence ever could. Alia's journey unfolded beneath endless benchmarks set by past legends and present rivals alike. Every role carried echoes of what she had already done and what others had done before her. Praise and doubt arrived together in equal measure. Success never arrived cleanly, it arrived with questions attached. Support is often felt to be conditional on performance outcomes. Growth happened under continuous measurement. Even improvement had to pass through comparison. Confidence had to be rebuilt with every release. Identity struggled to breathe outside public opinion. Achievement rarely felt settled because the next judgment always waited. When life becomes public, love learns to survive under pressure. Alia's relationships unfolded beneath uninterrupted public attention. Personal emotions turned into media narratives. Moments of closeness triggered interpretation. Silence invited speculation. Trust had to survive not only between two people but against millions of assumptions. Happiness required courage within exposure. Emotional space felt limited by constant visibility. The heart learned to protect itself beneath applause and judgment together. Stability had to fight noise daily. Romance required resilience more than fantasy. Even private decisions carried public consequences. Authority at a young age unsettled systems built on seniority. Alia's rise into creative and financial influence invited resistance alongside recognition. Independence was questioned before it was respected. Choice triggered debate faster than support. Leadership invited scrutiny before trust. Strength required explanation instead of acknowledgement. The industry rewarded obedience more easily than originality. Control demanded justification instead of acceptance. Growth required navigating tradition while shaping modern identity. Progress arrived with friction. Power felt earned but rarely felt undisturbed. Applause does not always translate into emotional security. Alia existed inside crowds that still allowed isolation to grow quietly. Trust became selective. Vulnerability felt risky. Stability felt temporary under constant movement. The personal world demanded protection from exposure. Emotional rest required deliberate effort. Silence became healing instead of emptiness. Even joy demanded privacy to feel real. The louder success became, the more carefully the inner world had to be guarded. Stillness became a private luxury. Sudden fame doesn't knock first, it crashes straight into identity. Chris Evans began his journey as a regular young man with modest roots, quiet ambitions, and a desire to simply work in film without becoming a symbol. Early years passed in gradual auditions, small roles, and unnoticed efforts that allowed him to grow without pressure. Then one defining role reshaped everything at once. Privacy didn't fade slowly, it vanished instantly. Familiar routines were replaced by packed schedules and global expectations. Strangers around the world learned his face before they ever understood his personality. The speed of recognition outpaced emotional adjustment. Identity had to settle under worldwide attention without preparation. The comfort of being unknown disappeared almost overnight. Life before fame slowly became a distant version of himself that he could no longer return to easily. When a role becomes legend, the person inside begins to disappear quietly. Chris transformed into a cultural symbol whose meaning stretched far beyond cinema. Courage, honesty, leadership, and moral strength became permanently attached to his image. The audience no longer separates the actor from the character. Every public appearance was evaluated against heroic expectation. Mistakes felt heavier under perfection. Vulnerability felt unsafe beneath admiration. The freedom to fail shrank silently. Over time, the role followed him more loudly than his own choices. Strangers expected discipline, kindness, and unwavering integrity at all times. The myth grew stronger while the human space grew smaller. Identity had to negotiate with legend every single day. When perfection becomes your reputation, imperfection turns into danger. Chris lived under the constant pressure to remain physically, emotionally, and morally ideal. Aging felt visible under youth-driven standards. Fatigue hid beneath controlled calm. Doubt hid behind steady confidence. Weakness felt like a violation of everything the audience believed he represented. The demand to remain dependable never truly rested. Emotional honesty required bravery beyond public approval. The image of reliability carried invisible weight. Stability demanded discipline rather than ease. Even rest began to feel earned instead of natural. Strength stopped being a personal quality and became a public contract he was expected to renew daily. Wanting privacy in a public life becomes a daily act of resistance. Chris guarded his personal world with deliberate distance from constant visibility. Silence became protection rather than disappearance. Boundaries became survival tools rather than comforts. Relationships unfolded away from relentless attention whenever possible. Stability required retreat from excessive exposure. Normal life became something that had to be protected with intention. Emotional safety depended on selective access. The decision to remain private demanded effort equal to the effort required to remain famous. Peace became a practice rather than a default state. The quieter his personal life became, the safer his emotional space felt. Time forces even the strongest icons to renegotiate who they truly are. Chris now faces the quiet anxiety of aging within a hero-driven identity. The industry that celebrated physical dominance continues to demand renewal without pause. Physical power no longer holds the same guarantee it once did. Emotional depth has begun to compete with spectacle. Relevance now demands transformation instead of repetition. The future asks for balance instead of brute strength. Identity slowly shifts from surface image toward lasting substance. Strength begins redefining itself as emotional endurance rather than physical display. The journey forward requires evolution instead of familiarity. Legacy now depends less on dominance and more on resilience.